প্রজনন ও যৌন স্বাস্থ্যসেবা পাওয়া কিশোর কিশোরী বা তরুণ তরুণীদের অধিকার। এ বয়সে স্বাস্থ্যসেবা গুরুত্বপূর্ণ হলেও সচেতনতার অভাব ও গোপনীয়তার প্রবণতায় মৌলিকতা থেকে তারা বঞ্চিত হচ্ছে বলে দাবি করেছেন দেশের উন্নয়ন সংস্থার প্রতিনিধিরা। সোমবার রাজধানীতে প্রজনন ও যৌন স্বাস্থ্যসেবা নিয়ে আলোচনায় অংশ নেন ইউনিসেফ, প্ল্যান ইন্টারন্যাশনাল বাংলাদেশ সহ বেশ কয়েকটি উন্নয়ন সংস্থার প্রতিনিধিরা। তারা বলেন, কিশোরীদের জন্য বিদ্যালয়ের ভেতরে বাইরে সামগ্রিক যৌন ও প্রজনন স্বাস্থ্যসেবা নিশ্চিত করা প্রয়োজন। এতে অনাকাঙ্ক্ষিত গর্ভধারণ ও যৌনবাহিত রোগের সংক্রমণ থেকে তারা সুরক্ষা দিতে পারে। বলেন, প্রজনন স্বাস্থ্য সম্পর্কে কিশোর কিশোরীদের সচেতন করতে বড় ভূমিকা রাখতে পারে পরিবার।
Period cover. Same here. Yeah, it's really a good way of, very powerful way of talking about, calling a spade for a spade, as we say in English, right? So thank you for that. So I think, in terms of what we can do more of as Gen U is to make sure that young people, especially young women, have a word, have a voice, at various levels, and we need to do that with other partners like Plan and others, both international NGOs, national NGOs, youth-led organizations, and corporate sector partners as well as government, right? So, one example in the health space, indeed, UNICEF is working very closely with the Ministry of Health, and in fact we have these adolescent health corners in almost all health centers in Bangladesh, right? But if we look at this from a youth perspective, we know that maybe young people don't know about this opportunity. Maybe the access is not there still, even though we have these services together with the ministry, right? So I think, Gen U being so youth focused, it's also about getting young people up here to talk with us about what are the barriers that they are meeting, and then engage young people, young women, specifically adolescent girls, to help us come up with solutions, okay? So I think this is what Gen U can do and can do more of in any space or in any issues and concerns that are actually hindering girls and young women to do well in life. We all know that we're in a country where more than 50% of girls are married before the age of 18.
Organization called Herstory Foundation. We are still running it.
Yes.
So we develop content for girls and women for empowerment. We tell stories and to break social norms and kind of, introduce what should be that, and inspire girls and boys to dream big. So we were running reading fellowship for classrooms where we would do that. And so that was called Cholopuri Herstory. So let's read her story. So, but when we were doing that, we realized the books that we were taking and reading in classrooms, in many of the classrooms, if we were to give these books to the children to read on their own, either in English or Bangla, they wouldn't be able to read it at their grade level because of lack of, competency at, for that reading level, and also lack of numeracy at that level. So we went back to the drawing board and tried to figure out what can we do that addresses that problem as well. So that's how Cholpuri started, and many people thinks it's Jolpuri. So the puri, you were talking about the fairy, that comes in.
Absolutely. And
that's like a mermaid.
I've been thinking about fairies ever since I heard that you'll be joining the panel.
So my father actually calls me up and it's like, hey, how's Jolpuri doing still? And he's been part of this journey, but so we have that. But in Jolpuri is a digital learning platform aligned with the national curriculum.
Particularly women health and children health, and government gradually investing more on that. Recently there is a planning is going on for further budgeting, but what exactly not working? The local level, there is a lot of collaboration there. So already Oler says they have a very good work with the MOCA, but there is a very good committee in local level. This is called Child Marriage Protection Committee, but this is not work. And that is why the 51% of the girls get married before they're 18, and 27 of them actually before they're 16. So what triggers there? The lot of early pregnancies there, and which is unsafe. And that means we cannot consider the only family planning all methods only for the population control. This is also about their body, keeping safe their body. So in terms of that, from our end, from plan end, we are more focusing on the strengthening the government's existing policy and practices. This is first. Second is mobilization, meaning there's a cohort group of people like the adolescents are there, their parents is there, and other stakeholders. So if you only invest on the knowledge level, bring up knowledge level of the adolescents, that will not work, because their first contact is their family. So we have to invest for their parents as well, like knowledge development, engagement, and helps the adolescents to take their informed decision when they need. And particularly, I can share one of the experience. There is a tools we used in plan. This is called intergenerational dialogue. We organized a session with a group of adolescents with their parents actually, father and mother both, and tried to facilitate a session to explore or to open up the adolescents and their parents what their dream and how could the parents help them to create their aspiration and how to fulfill their aspiration. In 1.1 girls in a settings of in a rural Kurigram, you may know a lot of all of them. Where is Kurigram? It's a much populated area, but the poverty level is really very high, and early marriage high, and the pregnancy rate is really high in Bangladesh. So one of the girls suddenly stand and start to cry, and her father is there, and she said, "This is the first time my father joined in a program where I also participated, but I didn't ever been discussed about my dream, what I wanted through this life." With my father. I have a lot of discussion with mother, but mother cannot actually share those things to my father, because father doesn't have that interest at all. Because this is your issue, this is not my issue, your girls manage her. So she said, this is really a nice experience to know from my father particularly. She asked the question in front of all people, what exactly you have in mind for your girl? For your daughter, this
So
is me.
brave.
And they both actually started to cry, because actually that father of that girl not even think that kind of needs or requirements that maybe comes from his daughter, who is 14 years old. So that intergenerational dialogue actually triggers something, that the adolescents, particularly who are in the age of 13, 14, 15, 16, they need a special support from their parents. And this support actually related to their sexual health, their reproductive health, their education, their life, their dream, their future plan, everything, which is considered in our society is very common. Huh? We used to talk with our children, okay, what is your dream? What do you want to do? Whether you have a plan for hang out with me somewhere. So this is common, but this is not common in everywhere in Bangladesh, which is a large group of our country. So considering those, I'm more focusing on investing more is important, particularly for the girls and young women. This investment in different terms, not only the education, but also health and making accessibility and creating awareness among the society members who are actually responsible and accountable for a lot of things in the community level. So saying these things, I say collaboration and networking is very important, and to create a positive environment, enabling environment for the girls and the young women to say loudly that this is my right, and I wanted to go to the health center or to the school without getting help from my 10 years or 5 years old boy, brother, or the aged person who is actually busy with a lot of things to make a security on the way to go there. So meaning that there is a lot of issues related to their mobility. So that restricts them also. So fighting against those things is needed a strong collaboration among the society with all of us. That is a new challenge for us, how to resolve it, because this is the first area, very important area that to be addressed. feeling free. I mean, the feeling free is the first step to take a decision about yourself.
Women's fertility have been impacted and women's ability to reproduce has been impacted. We have a lot more miscarriages. So we think that the younger the girl is, and if you get to marry a very young girl, her chances of being able to reproduce will be much higher. And in Bangladesh culture, and maybe in most of South Asia, a woman's ability to reproduce is pretty much her primary role as seen in society today. So I wanted to ask about the science behind it. So I read a lot from a sociological perspective, but I was wondering, did you guys get to do enough work to understand the research and the science behind whether climate change is actually impacting women's fertility? And if so, what kind of work is being done to protect their bodies against these impacts that are not in their control? And unless we address this issue, the issue of early marriage and early pregnancies will be impossible to address because it is all happening from a very practical stance in these areas. So yes, so I think that was pretty much